All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's discussion. So, my report will cover social marketing for resource mobilization. So, as part of our fifth module. So, after gaining general knowledge on social marketing in the previous reports and identifying the resources needed by the beneficiaries so they can buy the social product or our social marketing campaign. The next question was who has these resources? So that is when social marketing for resource mobilization comes in. So it is a strategic approach that uses social marketing principles and techniques to raise funds and resources for social causes, nonprofit organizations, and public service campaigns. So its main objective is to create a sustainable and effective strategy for generating financial and non-financial support from donors, sponsors, volunteers, and other stakeholders. So this approach involves applying marketing concepts and methods to create and promote social programs, initiatives, and campaigns. So it involves identifying target audiences, understanding their needs and motivation, and developing messaging and communication strategies that resonate with them. So, as we have also learned in our module and additional readings, social marketing for resource mobilization also involves building partnerships and collaborations with organizations and individuals who share the same social mission or goals. So, this includes leveraging social media, platforms, and creating engaging content, using targeted advertising, and organizing events and campaigns to increase awareness and support. So, all that we're going to touch on later in this report. So, I have here a simple yet very insightful video from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. So, it talks about understanding the importance of resource mobilization, action planning, and how it can help organizations achieve their goals. So it can also give us a backgrounder on what resource mobilization really is, but it really explains on five practical steps to developing a resource mobilization strategy and action plan. So that's what.
Explains 5 practical steps to developing a resource mobilization strategy and action plan.
Well, maybe I should start by explaining what is a resource mobilization plan, because a lot of people maybe think this is some complicated thing when actually it's something quite simple. Let me take an analogy of a business, Apple, which is a great success, Steve Jobs. I mean, he had an idea, he made a business plan, and then he made a marketing plan to make sure we each knew that we needed to have an iPhone. So that's really what a resource mobilization plan is. It's a marketing plan. It's marketing what FAO does well to our partners and to show that we have the comparative advantage over others. So if I think about some steps or some key ingredients, if you like, to do with a plan, what would you do first? Well, I would say, first of all, it's important to identify your partners, know your donors, in other words. Make sure you know what their priorities are vis-a-vis our priorities, and then go about making that connect and matching our interests, and therefore you can start engaging them, which is the second step. Engaging them through multiple means. Ultimately, it's about relationship, because we are all very relational beings, and many times resource mobilization happens through knowing somebody, connections in the field. The third ingredient, I would say, that is very critical, and in fact one could even argue that maybe it shouldn't be just the third, because you have to think about negotiating, and they have to be an acceptable source. We can't engage with any of the private sector without checking that it's an acceptable source to protect our reputation, for example. And also looking at the rules and regulations. There have been some examples where we have engaged partners. It's taken about a year to, develop a relationship, and then we found out that their rules and our rules don't comply, and we can't land an agreement together and have that funding agreement. And then number 4 is also critical. It's manage and report efficiently and effectively. Of course, if you get the money, you need to show you're a trustworthy and accountable partner, and managing the money effectively. Also dispersing it quickly but wisely, and reporting back. And reporting, I would say, it has to be a very honest reporting relationship. You know, things can go wrong, and it's very good to say this is what went well and this is what went wrong. Development is inherently complex, and so it's very important to be very frank about what works and sometimes what doesn't, and brainstorm maybe, you know, some things that could go better next time. And lastly, but this is in a way a bit of a circle, it's about communicating your results, celebrating in effect, you know, what FAO has achieved together with the government, with partners, with everybody, not to stand up high above everybody else, but together to say we did this, we achieved those results together. And that indeed will help you keep your partner, but it will also help attract other resource partners.
All right. So there are 5 key points that were discussed in the video, and they were, the first one is identify. So this step involves identifying potential donors and partners who can support your organization's mission and goals. So you should conduct research to identify these potential partners and determine how they align with your organization's mission. So the next step is engage. So once you have identified the potential donors and partners, the next step is to engage them effectively. So this may involve developing relationships with them through various channels such as email, social media, or in person meetings. So it's very important to tailor your approach to each donor to maximize engagement and build a meaningful relationship. And next, we have negotiate. So when you have engaged potential donors and partners, the next step is to negotiate the terms of the partnership or donation. So this may involve discussing the goals of the partnership, the amount of funding or resources needed, and the expected outcome. So it's important also that to have a clear and realistic expectations, and to negotiate in good faith to ensure a successful partnership. Rather. And moving forward, we have manage and report. So once you have secured funding or resources, the next step is to manage the partnership or donation effectively. So this involves keeping track of progress, communicating regularly with donors and partners, and providing updates on how their funding or resources are being used. So it's important also that you have a system for managing the partnership or donation and reporting them back to donors and partners. And lastly, we have communicate results. So the final step is to communicate the results of the partnership or donation to your stakeholders, including the donors, the partners, and your organization's supporters. So this may involve developing reports, newsletters, or other communication materials that highlight the impact of the partnership or donation. So here, it's also important to communicate results effectively to maintain engagement and also build long term partnerships which you can use in the future. So, in our assigned readings, Professor Bandelaria showed us the resource source matrix, where each potential source can be further evaluated to determine how the campaign could be or was aligned to their respective mission or vision. So before filling up the matrix, we must ask ourselves the following questions. So are these sources interested in our advocacy? Do they share our advocacies, or who do not share our advocacy? And lastly, who are interested? So some tips here that was also discussed in the module: you can prepare a priority list to determine who will be the first priority, second priority, third, or even down to the least priority. So another category was also included in the terms of identifying who among those identified can be convinced to support the campaign, especially if they have the critical resource needed for the campaign. You can also prepare a resource mobilization kit and arrange a formal presentation of the projects for companies, officials, organizations. You can do it on meetings or informal gatherings. It's all up to you. So here is, I'm sure you've all stumbled upon this already in our module. So the resource source matrix only um, has three components. So you can list down the resources needed for your social marketing campaign and the sources that are available to you. And lastly, you have the remarks. So any additional information relevant to the purpose of mobilizing the resources of the identified sources. So there you have it. So, upon my research for this topic, I've stumbled upon a paper entitled The Role of Social Media in Social Mobilization by Akash Shaw in India. So, it was conducted in India and it examines the impact of social media on social mobilization. So the author defines social mobilization as a process through which individuals or groups come together to bring about social change or to address a social issue. So the paper highlights the significance of social media in facilitating social mobilization and how it has become a key tool for activists and social movements. So um, it explored the various ways in which social media can be used for social mobilization, such as raising awareness, organizing protests, and mobilizing resources. So it also examines the role of social media in amplifying the voices of marginalized communities and facilitating their participation in social movements. So the paper, I will link this later on in my references, so you can check it out at your own time. But here are some notable takeaways from the paper on the role of social media and social mobilization. So, first is easy accessibility. So, easy accessibility is the availability of social networking sites via mobile apps. It has led to an immense growth in the use of social media, which has not only facilitated in accessing social platforms, but it has also induced the users to share significant information continuously through it. So the instant messaging feature also helps in rapid exchange of ideas and opinions, literally as well as audiovisually. And next, we also have social media is a rich environment for user generated content. So, what does that mean? The information space, which was created with the help of social networking tools, were mainly user generated. So, the social media content range from pictures, music, video, contacts, locations information, chat transcripts, and other information. So, next is its role as an inexpensive media. Of course, the advent of social networking sites was a boon to the internet users where one can instantly share messages, ideas, opinions, and information economically. So, according to AC Nielsen's The Social Media Report in 2012, it assesses that more people are using smartphones and tablets to access social media. With more connectivity, consumers have more freedom to use social media wherever and whenever they want. Next, social media has commonality of like interests. So here you'll find social networks allowing users to choose the individuals who have matching likes and dislikes and thus connecting with them to share ideas and common interests through the virtual platform, joining common interests, groups, and communities. And next we have, of course, the global connectivity. Social networks offer the fastest way to connect to people across the globe. In addition to the popular Facebook, Twitter, blogs, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, there are several other social networking communities that are dedicated to allow users so that they can connect over the internet. And lastly, It has non-expert interventions. What does that mean? So this virtual social networks throws open a wide platform for not only knowledgeable users sharing ideas, but also inducing individuals to frame their opinions and share their views and beliefs of common interest. Here I have another video. It's an episode from Canva for nonprofits. This webinar focused on how to use social media to raise funds for a cause and its importance in helping organizations and individuals reach a larger audience. So this video is more than an hour long. So I suggest that you watch it in your own free time. But to give you the gist, the research speaker from the Spark project discussed the various social media platforms that can be used for fundraising, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and explain how to create engaging content that resonates with the target audience. So he also emphasized here the importance of storytelling and how it can be used to inspire and motivate people to donate, hence the involvement of Canva, which as we all know is a platform to get creative. So he also provided some practical tips here and strategies for creating successful fundraising campaigns, such as setting a fundraising goal, creating a sense of urgency, offering incentives for donations. And there's a part there that he also discussed the different types of fundraising campaigns. So it has such as crowdfunding, peer-to-peer fundraising, donation drives, and how they can all be tailored to suit specific goals and audiences. So I believe this will be very helpful for us since we're also going to plan our social marketing campaign in the future. So in this episode, we highlight specifically crowdfunding, which, as we all know, refers to the practice of funding a project or venture by raising small amounts of money from a large number of people. So um, it's typically used by the internet. So in a crowdfunding campaign, the project creator um, sets a funding goal and offers rewards or equity in exchange for contributions from individuals or organizations who are interested in supporting the project. So, crowdfunding can be used to raise money for a wide variety of projects, so including creative endeavors such as art, music, excuse me, and film, as well as social causes, businesses, and personal needs. So, the crowdfunding platforms such as Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and GoFundMe have become popular ways to connect project creators with potential supporters and facilitate the fundraising process all over the world. So I'll I have here some excerpts from the video. The benefits of crowdfunding goes beyond raising funds, so it accelerates your launch. It builds a community around work, brand, or cause. It has feed. It can gain feedback for improvement. It gives you exposure, and it also connects you to other opportunities. So I already watched an important part in his discussion on crowdfunding, which I think is really insightful for my assigned topic. So hold on.
their brand and strengthen their community. So now you ask, how can we be successful in crowdfunding? So right now you might be thinking, okay, let me explore crowdfunding. Maybe we can do crowdfunding for our cause or for our social enterprise. So how can I be successful in that? I would say this. So this is like maybe a formula on how you can create effective crowdfunding campaigns. So here are like the main components of what a crowdfunding campaign should have. First is the story. So it's important that your crowdfunding campaign has a story, or you leverage on the story behind the product or the project or the service that you are offering. So crowdfunding allows you that avenue to share your narrative. So it's not just about saying, like, if you're a business, example as a business, if you do Facebook ads, if you share, if you boost things on Facebook ads, you only talk about, let's say, the product that you're selling. But because of the limited attention span or the limited space that you can do in social media, your story usually gets sidetracked or gets parked. You don't get that chance to talk about the reason behind or the why behind your story or your organization or your cause. So this crowdfunding allows you to do that. Next is friends. So it's also important to identify your friends early on before you crowdfund, because friends are what we call your first circle of supporters or your first level of supporters. So usually, when we talk about since it's we also leverage on social media when we crowdfund. Usually, people support projects that their friends support, so they kind of like join the bandwagon that way. So if you are raising awareness or doing crowdfunding or doing a crowdfunding campaign, it's important that your first level supporters, your friends, would support you first. So they will be your first wave of supporters. Because through that, you get to kind of like do a ripple effect when it comes to sharing what you're doing to other people. And then hopefully the second level of people who will stumble upon your campaign would eventually get your support because their friends supported you too. So it's very important that you identify those initial community already. Next is having a video. So it's very important for crowdfunding campaigns to have a video. In fact, there was a study that I learned like a few years ago. I don't know if I'm sure I don't know the exact number right now, but if your crowdfunding campaign has a video, it has like 35% more chances of getting more funded or getting fully funded. So it's very critical for you to have a video, because also with the attention span of people, they would want to understand the whole story and the whole reason for your crowdfunding right away. So usually when people go to a crowdfunding campaign, the first thing that they click is the video. It's important to have a video, a well-made one and a concise one that would usually just be around a minute and a half to 3 minutes maximum. So you have to kind of like jam in um, the reason, for your project and the story behind your project and all other pertinent information that can help them decide whether or not they will support. Fourth is having good rewards. So rewards, even if you're doing donation-based campaigns, rewards are there to kind of like make things more exciting for your campaign. So for a usual rewards-based campaign, the rewards would be certain tiers, certain levels. So like for 1,000 pesos, you get this. For 2,000, you get, so let's say for 1,000 pesos, you get a small bag. For 2,000 pesos, you get a bag plus a t-shirt. And for 5,000 pesos, you get like a special package from that project. So you can use the same type of strategy, having rewards even for your donation-based campaigns. So you can use your rewards for your donation-based, like let's say if you donate 1,000 pesos, you get a gift set or like a postcard set. If you give 3,000 pesos, you get this will be a scholarship for for 3 students already, or this will provide food for X number of families already. So it allows you to kind of rewards are there to help your backers, to help your donors visualize where their money will be going to. So you can kind of like strategize or play around with the concept of rewards when you're doing crowdfunding. And then lastly, having media or working media. So leveraging on social media, leveraging on other media outlets that can help echo or magnify your crowdfunding efforts. So a lot of our projects who are successful on our site would usually reach out to different bloggers or to different media outlets and send out press releases or create ask them, or they get featured or they get interviewed during the time that they're crowdfunding. So while they're crowdfunding in that duration of, let's say, 1 month, aside from their crowdfunding campaign, there's already also noise or promotions that are happening surrounding their campaign through another media outlet, for example. So having all those like ingredients would help make up a successful crowdfunding campaign. And hopefully with that, if you play your cards right and if you put them all together, you get the funds that you need. But even if you have your story
All right. We already got the gist of how crowdfunding can be, how to succeed in crowdfunding based on that excerpt. And then we're down to the last part actually. Hold on. So I will just end my report with some practical tips for resource mobilization from from a personal recollection of our professor on the IP9 campaign. So number one is to celebrate successes, um, publicize activities. There will be those who would want to hitch their wagon to the star. And then next will be treat partners properly. So do not ask for the moon. Make each partner feel that however small the contribution is, it will go a long way. And next we have recognize and capitalize on coalitions. So study networks, who is connected with whom. So and widen broaden your network. Next, we have believe in what you are selling. Of course, remember, this is not just a job, it is an advocacy. So you cannot see if you yourself do not believe on its benefits. And then lastly, of course, monitor and evaluate. Draw lessons from experiences, determine what works, what does not, what needs to be improved, what should be dropped, and then best of luck on your social marketing campaign. For our discussion questions, I have two. So aside from crowdfunding, can you share other new platforms found online for resource mobilization? And lastly, if you were to prepare your resource source matrix for your social marketing campaign, can you identify at least two or three resources that you will be needing and why so? All right, and that is all. I will list down my references in the forum so you can go check them out in your own free time. Thank you for listening and stay safe, everyone.